Pixar, it's nice to have you back. Inside Out. Now, I was a bit nervous going into this one. Pixar has had a bit of a rough run as far as I'm concerned. They haven't made a good movie since Toy Story 3, and they haven't made a great one since Up. Thankfully, things are back on track with this one because this movie is fun, it's funny, it's touching. It is everything I want out of a great Pixar movie, but was afraid to expect anymore. So Inside Out deals with a young girl by the name of Riley. She's 11 years old, and her family has just moved from Minnesota to San Francisco. Now, a move that big, that drastic, that's a lot for anyone to deal with, and it's a lot to ask of a kid, and we get a special look inside of her mind at her emotions as they try and guide Riley through everything that's going on to get the best result. There are 5 emotions that we deal with. There is joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. And between the 5 of them, they try and help shape Riley's experiences to help build the best core memories, which help build and create the personality that actually makes her who she is. Now, even beyond Pixar's track record, the premise had me a little bit worried as well, because it seems like the kind of thing that is not a bad idea, but it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that's going to sustain for a full-length feature. It seemed like the kind of thing that would be great for a 10-15 minute short, half hour at the stretch. And I also found myself wondering, like, how is there going to be any sort of dynamic interaction with these emotions? You know, how can they have a journey? How can they learn anything? How can an emotion have an arc? Thankfully, the film really does balance things all really well, and it stays true to what these emotions are meant to represent. But even though they are very strongly defined by a single characteristic, which is just implied by what their names are, there is still a surprising amount of depth, and there is a roundness to each of these characters. Plus, the whole movie bounces around the 5 of them, plus what's going on in the real world, often and frequently enough that if there ever was a risk that things were going to start to get stale, or the premise was going to start to wear thin, it knows when to move to something else to keep everything fresh. I don't want to go too much into the story beyond just the initial setup, because I think what they do is really clever in the way that they find a way to stretch out the story, and what's going on in Riley's life and what's going on inside her head is just... everything is just really well balanced and very well thought out. The voice cast is also very good. It's not really worth singling out all the voices because really across the board it's just great voice work, which is standard on a Pixar movie. Even the Pixar movies that I don't really like or I think are overrated always have stellar voice work. The animation and the look of everything, especially inside Riley's head, is also really interesting, and it's also very intuitive. You just looking at it, they explain the few things that are sort of unique concepts to how this sort of vision of inside your head and someone's mind works, but for the most part, you just look at it and you pretty much immediately get what everything is meant to be and what things are meant to represent. And that's just really clever design and really well thought out ways of telling us a lot without having to sit us down and throw exposition at us. There's a little bit at the front end, but only as much as you need, and then just the visuals tell you everything you need to know. Now, we're talking Pixar, and we're talking about a movie about feelings, so yeah, there's some pretty serious emotions in this one, and yes, I did cry. I cried flat out once, and I choked up well ahead of that because of something else. But now, here's really sort of where it shows the strength of this film, though. The thing that made me cry, like flat out cry, tears going down the face, was something that I saw coming. I saw it set up and I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did happen how I thought it was going to happen, and I knew they were going to play it up as a sad moment, but it still made me cry even though I saw it coming, which just speaks to the strength of the execution and how genuine the emotions this thing is able to dredge up from the audience are. And with a Pixar film, it's easy to get hung up on the moments that make you cry, but there's a lot of funny stuff in this. One of the really nice things about having it set inside of Riley's mind is you can basically throw out the normal laws of physics. So they're able to have a lot more almost sort of Looney Tunes type physical gags that Pixar doesn't usually get to have because their films are just slightly too grounded in reality, that you can't have people just splatting against the wall in a way that completely reshapes their body because, you know, that's just a little too cartoonish for the sorts of worlds that they make. But when you're dealing with a world that is entirely mental, you can get away with that level of physical comedy. So there's that, but there's also really clever writing. There's some really funny dialogue. Just, this movie is the complete package. Kids are gonna love it because it's fun and it's funny and it's energetic and it's brightly colored, but not in that sort of distract the kids with shiny objects. No, it's just bright and vibrant and lively, and adults are gonna like it because it really does speak very truthfully to your emotional levels and how you process information and sort of different aspects of your personality, sort of taking control and taking the driver's seat as different things happen in your life. And I think anyone of any age is going to be able to relate and connect to that and go, yeah, this is Pixar back on point and back in form. And I feel like I've been waiting a while for this to happen, and it was worth the wait. That is not an excuse to give us more junk like Cars 2, though, guys. Come on, let's keep on the ball now. I think I asked this when I talked about Brave, but I'll ask it again anyways. What is your favorite Pixar film? I think I might have said The Incredibles last time. For whatever reason, Up slipped my mind. Up is my favorite Pixar film. But there are a lot of good ones out there. What is your favorite? Whatever one it is, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. As for me, I'll be back as soon as I can get my next fix.